I'm reading for the Longhorns because it was an inspiration for North Yesterday, my first novel. This is about a steer that loved his freedom named Tablecloth. His mother was a green-horned, dun Spanish cow driven up from the south to the great Shoe Sole Ranch bordering the Snake River in Idaho. Despite panthers and wolves that prowled the broken country she chose to range in, she always raised a calf, and she became a marked animal. One year her calf, a bull, escaped branding. She kept it in solitude, and when it was a yearling, she charged a man trying to throw her into the roundup and hooked his horse in the hip. But the yearling was branded and castrated. Upon being turned loose, he butted down one brander and sent the others tearing out. His mother took him back to the tall timbers. He had a name now, Tablecloth, from his checkered blue, yellow, and white color. The next year he was not in the roundup. He still ranged along with his mother. The pair were seen occasionally, but by fleetness and constant alertness, and by taking cunning advantage of cedar-studded roughs, they escaped roundup after roundup until the cow was no longer seen. In the prime of life now, Tablecloth kept in fine condition and kept his figure too. He often led younger steers into wildness, but they could be cut off and rounded in while he vanished. When he was 10 years old, 3 punchers with special orders to get Tablecloth sighted him farther off from the canyon cedars than they had ever seen him before. They hazed him along with his little bunch into a herd being trimmed for the market. Tablecloth became one among 2,000 grown steers bound for the shipping pens. He walked up with the leaders. The first night on the trail, watchful guards saw that he remained standing while the other cattle bedded down. While the dipper swung around the North Star and one relief after the other circled the cattle, he roamed about, horning sleepers out of his way in a most domineering manner until the morning star began to pale. Perhaps he was accustomed to a little sleep. He was full of pride and energy of life. About the middle of the next night, storm clouds blew up and a herd arose on restless feet. All hands were called out. They prevented a break or a drift, but when daylight came, Tablecloth was gone. Tracks showed that he had left in a loop. The herd had to go on. 2 years later, organized riders made a special hunt. One man sighted Tablecloth, fired his 6-shooter as a signal, and fell in behind him up an open arroyo. The hooves of both steer and horse were making a fine clatter, and maybe the puncher was gaining a little when he saw an enormous bear rise up on his hind legs just ahead of Tablecloth. Tablecloth never swerved an inch. He hit the bear, bowled him over, and tore on. He had to cross some open ground, and here 2 punchers twined him about the same time. They snubbed him to a tree until the lead ox could be brought. Tablecloth tried his best to gore the yoke mate, but he was necked up too close for horn action. After getting to the beef herd, he was kept necked. At night, he made life miserable for the gentle ox, constantly shifting about looking for escape. Escape was never for a moment out of his mind, but he was on his way to a packing plant, and the boss had promised treats to the whole outfit if they could shut the gates behind the outlaw in these shipping pens. They had traveled 2 or 3 days, and Tablecloth was still secure and was actually lying down like the other cattle, apparently asleep, when in the quietness of the night, a coyote let out a sudden, piercing yell at the edge of the herd. Instantly, it was pounding the ground. Riding to circle it, a puncher heard a steer moaning as if in great agony. He paused and saw Tablecloth standing on one side of a tree and the lead ox down on the other, choking to death. He had no time for anything but to cut the necking rope from the gentle animal's throat. Tablecloth was long gone before the ox could get to his feet. The stampede was not serious, and once more the cattle train pulled away from the shipping pens. without tablecloth. 3 years went by. He was still free. He had ridded himself of the necking rope and looked to be in the prime of condition. After returning from marketing the last fall's shipment, the boss proposed that certain men take their Winchesters and bring in tablecloths, hide, and carcass. He thought he was offering an opportunity for big sport. He was surprised at the opposition that rolled up. Hadn't tablecloth fairly won life and liberty? For 15 years now, the whole shoe-sole outfit had been after him, and he was still free. He was getting old. He had never really tried to kill a man. He had simply outplayed his opponents. He could not be called mean. Among his kind, he was rarer than a cowman out of debt, as outstanding as Booger Red among riders and pitching horses. By God, he deserved to live among the cedars and canyons he lived so well. And the boss agreed. Tablecloth continued to enjoy his liberty for several years. Then, like his mother, he was no longer seen. No man ever came across his skull. Thank you.